much. And when I start to say about mental health, I think we have a long way to go. And in order to help us understand the various aspects of mental health when it comes to persons with disability, we have a very special guest today. We will Miss Kanika Kumar would be joining us. She is an RCI registered special educator. She's also an educational psychologist, a consultant, and a teacher trainer. And I'm really excited to get into conversation with her. She's here, so let me just quickly add her. Thank you for joining in.
Thank you,
Hello,
Sweetie.
ma'am.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm also good, ma'am. And thank you so much for agreeing to do this session with us. I'm sure we're going to learn a lot today. So,
I sure hope
uh,
so.
okay, so I think we can begin. And you being a
Right.
special educator, I think the first question that I'd like to ask you is that why did you choose this particular subject or this particular field for your career path?
My very dear childhood friend has severe autism, and a little after completing my master's in psychology, I started spending every Sunday with him and a few more boys with autism. So the whole idea was to give them experiences so that they can have recreational time as well as um, the opportunity to socialize with other people who have autism as well as neurotypical people. And we want, because what happens is when you have a child with disabilities, what happens in school is that they receive a lot of therapies. If the school has a therapist like a speech therapist, occupational therapist, or a special educator, so they
Right.
keep getting support in the school environment. Sometimes the schools don't have these facilities, so the child has to go after school. So during the school they struggle, they get the
Right.
support. After school also they are bouncing from one therapy session to another, so they lose out on the recreational aspect. Having a regular boring childhood wherein they can just enjoy, just sit
Right.
around and be bored, or just play with friends. So that is
True.
what we wanted to do, and that became the highlight of my entire week, the happiest time, and that's when I decided to become a special educator.
I think this whole experience that you shared, how this one particular week impacted you taking up this whole thing as a career is really inspiring in itself. I think even when we talk about children with disability, not a lot of people focus on the way that how you thought of it, the perspective that you had. So this is really inspiring. Thank you for sharing. And ma'am, since this year the theme is mental health for all,
Mhm.
I'd also like to what is your take on today's topic and how relevant do you think it is when we talk about the theme for the World Mental Health Day?
I'm actually very excited to talk about this topic for various reasons. One, in India especially, mental health is a stigma. And when we talk about the mental health of people with disabilities, it's double the stigma. Because
True.
one is for the mental health and the other is for having a disability. So it's, and also people with disabilities belong to a very marginalized group of society, because there are about 10% of people who have disabilities. So
Okay.
even though with COVID and everything there is a lot of talk about mental health, I don't see
But
many people talking about the mental health of people with disabilities. In fact, when
true.
you invited me to speak on your Instagram page, I researched a little bit and I struggled, because there is not much information even on the internet.
Yes.
Very limited information. You'll find all sorts of symptoms related to disabilities, how to
Yes.
support them, but not so much to do with the mental health of these people, because there are a lot of stereotypes involved, and people have this understanding that it's something that needs to be corrected, because they don't understand that there is a difference between having a disorder and having a disease. They feel that if you have a disability, something needs to be done to correct it. Now, in case of physical disabilities, you might still be able to correct it to a particular extent, given the advances in the field of
Right.
medicine. But what about the neurological issues? You can't correct them. People with
True.
disabilities who have neurological disorders, they live with them throughout their life. So, that perspective also makes it very difficult. Then you have this stereotype that, people with disabilities have disabilities, they are not mad. Because if you have a mental illness, you are considered to be mad.
Right.
So there's too much stigma attached to it, and I think it's time that we talk about it, because one, the field of disabilities is a very niche field. There are not many people who are aware of the kind of challenges that people with disabilities face, and that mental illness can be a part of it, and that we need to take care of their mental health.
Yes.
So I'm really happy that you took the initiative to actually talk about this marginalized group.
Yes, I think it was very much needed, and like Clef is organizing this whole virtual mental health camp, and with the tagline being mental health for all, we had to include it. I think it is a must, and to have a speaker like you adds on to the whole thing. So I'm sure we're going to learn a lot, ma'am. Also, there's one more thing that before we actually start with the actual conversation, what is the right way of addressing them? So I'm till now I've been calling them people with disabilities. So is that the right way? Because some people call them the disabled people, some call them differently abled. So what is the correct term that we need to use?
So, Kirti, I believe you happen to be a student of psychology, and you do learn about all of these things. So you are on the right
Yes.
track. We are actually supposed to address them as people with a disability, person with autism, person with learning disabilities, and not a disabled person or an autistic person. Because you need to see beyond the label. The person is more than their disability. The moment you say that this is a disabled person,
Yes.
you automatically just give up seeing the
You're taking away
person.
the personhood of that person.
Yes, you stop looking at the person as a person, and that person is something beyond their disability, what their likes, their dislikes, their interests, their talents, their strengths might be.
Right. So, ma'am,
We need
isn't
to focus.
differently abled a better term as compared to people with disabilities also?
They are both these terms are being used frequently, so they both are the correct terms to use.
Okay. So to the audience here, even though both ma'am and I were aware, the only reason why I raised this question was to again aware everybody that disabled people is the wrong word.
Right.
It's wrong to call somebody an autistic person. They are not their illness. So let's start using terms that are right. So you can either address them like people with disabilities or the
Yeah.
differently abled. So, ma'am, since we're going to talk a lot about disability, I'd like you to share what exactly a disability is. And also, you mentioned that there's a difference between disease, disorder. So, could you help us understand these terms?
So see, what happens is, in a disease you can cure it. There is
Okay.
there is something that you can do. You can take medicines, you can have a surgery, you can do something about it to correct it, and you can get cured. But a
Okay.
disorder is something that you cannot cure. Like a neurological disorder in which a person has autism, learning disability, these are things that you cannot cure. A person
Okay.
is born with these challenges. There is the brain makeup, brain chemistry is completely different. So it is something that you cannot actually change. You can intervene, you can provide them with the intervention, the supports, teach them how to manage being with with their
Very
challenges, but you cannot make the challenges completely go away. If they get
true.
the right kind of intervention early on, then the percentage of challenge reduces, but it's not like it goes away completely. If a person was, let's say, struggling 80%, maybe few years down the line they might struggle only 50% of the times, or maybe 30% of the times, but it wouldn't completely go away. So when
So,
you
as
talk,
a community, we can take up steps to reduce the amount of challenges that they're feeling, to make things more
yes.
accessible.
Yes. So if we give them the support that they require, like for example, early intervention. You can start early intervention the moment you identify that a child is struggling, that there might be a problem, there is something different about this child compared to other children of this age, or that there are, developmental delays in the milestones, achieving the milestones. So if you get the required help at that point of time, it's very early, the brain is still developing, the child is still learning, It's the
Right.
best time to intervene and provide support before the child starts to struggle even more than the child was struggling earlier, before the gaps increase, before you lose out on the time, and before it starts impacting the child self-esteem, confidence, and ultimately the mental health.
Right. So early intervention is needed because,
Yes.
identifying symptoms at the early stage is a better way to, like you said, we cannot
Yes.
completely get away with the problem, but we can surely decrease the challenges that
Yes.
we face.
But there are times when early intervention is not possible because there is still
Hmm.
a lot of lack of awareness. So a teacher
True.
who is not trained in all of these things might not be able to identify that the child has a real challenge.
Right.
Then there are there are pediatricians who might not be aware. There are people in different aspects of medical field who are not aware of these challenges. So even if you consult them, they might not be able to guide you correctly. They might not be able to tell the parents correctly that there is a challenge, you need to consult so and so person, this is the kind of assessment you need to get done. So precious time is lost. I know of so many families who thought that their child was struggling. They consulted a lot of people, but they got the wrong kind of treatment. There's this I recently spoke to a grandfather whose grandchild, he is now 7 years old, but they've actually been giving him medicines thinking that he'll get cured of his ADHD, and they've been giving him ayurvedic medicines and allopathic medicines. And ADHD is not something which you can cure. You can manage it, you can intervene, but you cannot cure it. And there are many such instances where the people are not getting the correct guidance. So I would say that whenever you realize, that's when it's time to intervene. If early, then yes, that's the best. But when you realize, then do give them the required support so that
Yes.
they have an equal chance, if not equal, a good chance of achieving success.
Yes. Ma'am, I'd also like to know how is it that people with disabilities are made to feel unworthy or incapable?
Okay, before I
How
go on to
we as
that
a
part, I want to
society.
talk about a few classifications of people with disabilities. So what happens is there are two different classifications. There are many different kinds of disabilities. I'm not going to start naming them, but I'm going to talk about different categories, wherein one is where you have a congenital disability, which means that the person has disability since the time of birth.
Okay.
They are born with that disability, with that challenge, and this is the only way of life that they've known since the day they were born. Then you have
Okay.
acquired disability, which is that the person has acquired this disability during their lifetime. So what happens is that they might have an illness or an accident related injury due to which they might get disabled. For example, they can have head trauma, spinal injury, or a loss of limbs,
Right.
because of which their mental as well as physical functions can get limited compared to the life they led earlier on. In case of illness related, a person can you hear me, Kirti?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so
You
then
were sharing about the acquired disabilities.
right. Were you able to hear the part where I mentioned a few famous personalities?
No, no, not that part.
Okay, so like Helen Keller, she wasn't born deaf and blind. She had an illness due to which she became
Right.
disabled. Very famous personality Stephen Hawkins. He wasn't born with a disability. He had a
Right.
degenerative neurological condition which was identified at the age of 21.
Right.
Right. And then, there's another classification which is visible and in. Oh, can you hear me now?
I don't know, there's some technical glitch happening. I think
It
it's fine now.
happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was talking about the other classification, which is
Yeah.
visible and invisible. So in the case of visible disabilities, the moment you look at the person, you know that the person has some kind of disability
Right.
or challenge. Like if a
Hmm.
person is using a wheelchair, so you would know the
Right.
moment you see the person. In the case of invisible disabilities, you can meet the person, you can see the person, but you might not be able to identify that this person actually has challenges. Like in the case of learning disabilities, it is limited to the
Right.
struggle in academics. So you might not get to know that this person has challenges. People with
Right.
high functioning autism, you wouldn't know that they have a disability. So in the cases of such people, what happens is that people think that you are lazy, you just don't want to do it, you are making
Right.
excuses, or you are just lying. So they are
Right.
disbelief. And in the cases of people with visible disability, they are judged the moment we see them.
Yes.
So all of this actually has an impact on their self esteem.
True.
So before I come to how they now I'll talk about your question when you
Though,
asked how
yeah.
they feel unworthy. So what happens
And
is, sorry, I
incapable.
didn't hear you. Can you repeat?
Yeah, so I was saying how they are made to feel unworthy and incapable. So I was just adding the word incapable.
Okay. So what happens is, let's talk about the beginning when they are in school.
Okay.
Some children who might have neurological difficulties like autism, ADHD, learning disability, Down syndrome, they have learning challenges as well in many
Right.
cases. So what happens is they struggle with a lot of academic tasks which their peers don't struggle with. During the early years, the peers don't realize that there is a difference. But as you
Right.
grow older, you come into grade 2, 3, 4, 5, your friends start to realize that there is something different about you. You are struggling more. So what happens is, sometimes if the children are not aware, if they are not sensitized, then they might not want to be paired with you during the group tasks, because
Yes.
they feel like we will become slow, we will be slowed down because of you, our output will not be good enough because of you, all of those
Yeah.
things. And then they might not want to play with you, because you might not, because some children, like children with autism, they are very literal, they might not understand sarcasm, they might not understand jokes. Then there are
Yes.
children who might have issues with speech. So as an adult, we might be very patient and we try to put in extra efforts to understand what the child is saying. But a child who is just 7 years old, 8 years old might not put in the similar effort.
True.
So they might not want to talk to the child because it's too difficult to understand what he or she is saying. So what happens is they lose out on having friends. They lose out on opportunities to socialize,
Yes.
because of which they become isolated, they become secluded, they get segregated. Imagine how that would make you feel.
Just listening to all of this is making me sad, ma'am. I don't know. I think it's very difficult to both empathize and just put yourself in that position. It's very difficult as
It
to
is.
how we treat them and also what is going on with them. So it's very heartwarming to listen to all of this.
I've been working with children with special needs for 10 years. Believe me, I'm very passionate about my work. I love working with children. But I would still say the love and the concern I feel for my children is only 1% of what their parents might feel. And the
Exactly.
understanding that I have of their challenges and how they feel is barely 1% of what they actually go through, even after so many years, because it's actually the person who's going through it who knows what
Right.
it is. We can try, and that is what is the most important thing, to make genuine efforts.
Yes. Yes.
Then there is a lot of frustration that they feel because they are not able to complete tasks. They are not, even though they put in double the effort, double the time, they might not be able to achieve success. And they have to depend on somebody else. Imagine not being able to do it yourself, always needing help.
Even after putting in so much effort,
Yes,
that's, I think that's the add-on point over here. It's not like they're not trying, they are, and they are indeed
yes.
putting efforts, but still not getting the result.
What happens is, I'll give you an example. When I used to prepare my students for a spelling challenge, they used to have a spelling test every Friday. They used to prepare the entire week from Monday to Thursday. In every class with me, we used to practice all the words, reading the words, speaking the words, trying all sorts of strategies to spell the words correctly. And they would even come to an extent where they would spell 90 or 95% or even 100% of the words correctly.
Hmm.
That was during a one-on-one class or a small group class with me. But on
Right.
the day of the actual spelling test, when they were in the classroom with their peers, there can be anxiety, there can be self
Right.
doubt, because of which they were not able to spell the words which even they knew.
Exactly.
So they go through a lot. So, there is a lot of loss of freedom and independence. When I talk about loss of freedom and independence, we also need to consider people with physical disabilities. Now, a child with physical disabilities or an adult with physical disabilities would require somebody's help to move around from one place to another.
Right.
They might require help to use the washroom.
Right.
They
They're
might
always
not,
dependent on somebody else.
yes. And imagine not being self sufficient. The kind of frustration you feel, no matter how hard you try, you still not able to achieve it. And then
Right.
also your effort is not recognized. You are just labeled by saying that you are lazy, you are not trying hard enough, or maybe the parents are blamed that the parents aren't putting enough effort. So it's not
Right.
just a struggle for the child or the adult, but also the family of the person with disabilities.
True.
So it's the person with disability who is struggling, whose mental health is not considered. Imagine, you know, then the people are not even talking about the mental health of the family members of the person with disability.
Right.
So they are completely ignored. And then because of all of this, there is a lot of bullying, name calling, teasing, pushing, pinching, a lot of that. That has an impact on the child's self-esteem, confidence, that all of that goes down. They start doubting themselves. They start feeling that, I might not be able to do it, even when they have the capability. They might have an anxiety attack or a panic attack just before a test, or maybe before a
Right.
group activity, or in any social situation wherein they might have to talk in front of their peers because it is a presentation. There is a lot of anxiety that they go through because of all of these situations. In extreme cases, you can have them feeling depressed.
Right.
And then in the case of adults, a huge concern is unemployment, because people already have decided that you have a disability, you might not be able to do it, you might not have the skills required, you might not understand it, or you're just not good enough for it. So what happens is we constantly make them feel incapable because they need
Yes.
our help. We make them feel like they are a burden on the family, on their social relationships, on the society as a whole. We make them feel like they are not worthy.
Yes.
We make them feel like they are not needed because we isolate them. We don't involve them, so they are not needed. We discriminate against them repeatedly. And then there are also possibilities of a lot of abuse and violence. Abuse
Right.
and violence. So what happens is, let's talk about how abuse and violence happens. In the
Yes.
case of
How
a,
the mental health. Yes.
sorry,
How they health is affected? That was going to be my next question.
Okay, sorry, I didn't give you the chance to ask.
No, no, no. I think I'm just loving the way you are explaining everything. And also, since I've spoken in between, I'd like to appreciate this extra effort that you're taking in to show these pluck cards. Some people are finding it disturbing, saying that it's right to left or left to right, the thing.
I
But
thought
it's
that
still,
it might be a mirror image, but being a special educator, I'm a very visual person and I just really needed this.
yes, yes. And I think it's helpful, ma'am, actually. So thank you for taking this extra effort. And you can continue with the abuse and violence part.
Yeah. So before the abuse and violence, sorry, I want to talk about another thing, that there are a lot of barriers that
Hmm.
people with disabilities face. What happens is there are a lot of barriers related to access. So a person with physical disability who might be using a wheelchair might not be able to access a building because they might not have a lift, they might not have a ramp, or maybe the doors are just not wide enough for a wheelchair to roll in. So they are not able to access. What about transport? If they want to go out and have fun, have an evening out, and they might not be able to drive. They might not be able to use a public transport so efficiently because there are gaps in our public transport. It's not completely
Exactly.
accessible. It's not their fault, but they are the ones
I
who
think,
are
ma'am,
blamed.
as a community, I'm able to reflect that we're just making life for them more and more difficult, Instead of making it
Yes.
easier, we're just adding on to the problem, to the challenges that already exist in their life. And
Right.
yeah,
And that's a very unfortunate situation. Then I want to talk about the barrier wherein they have no privacy. So what happens is, let's say a person has communication issues. They are not maybe they have limited speech, or they are not able to communicate as well. So when they visit a doctor, they might need somebody to help them communicate. They might need an interpreter. So the whole discussion is not private. Then in the case of a person with let's say a person who is going through anxiety and requires a counselor's help, so the family, because everyone is so used to giving help to this person, they also go and join the session. What
right.
if the family member or the caregiver who is actually sitting in with the person with disability is the person causing the anxiety?
Exactly.
Then
Exactly.
how is that going to get addressed? How is the person with disability going to talk openly? Then there's also an issue that people don't talk to you directly. They will talk to your family member.
Could you elaborate this a little bit more? They don't talk to you directly, but their family
So
members.
because there are a lot of stereotypes about what and how much you might be able to understand, what ends up happening is, if you, let's say you go for a checkup to a doctor, so the doctor will check you, but they will talk to the family that this is the issue, this is what needs to be done. So
Right.
where is that respect and privacy for the person with disabilities?
Exactly. You
Because
are
we are
not
not.
entity, you are just somebody there, the
Yes.
family, talking to family is a concern.
See, you and I would not like it if you are standing right in front of
Right.
me and I talk about you with somebody else. I'm not giving you
Exactly.
the respect.
You
I'm
know,
not,
addressing the third
yeah,
person in itself, it's not good. Like, it'll make
right.
me feel bad.
Another thing is the lack of sensitization. So what
Yes.
happens is, we all know that there's a lack of sensitization in the community as a whole, but even in the medical profession, there are a lot of times that the doctors from different fields, they might have never interacted with a person with disability. That also becomes an issue. And then let's say it's a cardiologist. A cardiologist
Hmm.
is not trained in sign language. So how are they going to interact with the person who requires sign language? So there
Right.
are a lot of barriers when it comes to people with disabilities.
Right.
Now coming to the part about the abuse and violence. So one kind of abuse is when you don't give the, it's a mental abuse when you do not respect the person. Even extreme bullying is a form of mental abuse.
Yes.
Then you might have heard about a lot of instances wherein there are a lot of mental institutes where people get raped. It's very easy. Or there might be a person, let's say, who is on life support, so they are not able to protect themselves, they are not able to fend for themselves, they get sexually harassed. So this is abuse, this is violence. And I forgot to mention earlier, but I want to mention in the part where I spoke about the issue with privacy. There are a lot of like, I'll give you an example of some of my students. They have a lot of sensory issues, and sometimes they have difficulty grasping the whole concept of menstruation. So what happens is they require their mothers to change their sanitary napkin. Now that
Right.
is something which is related to your private area. It is very personal to you, and you have no privacy related to your own body. So that also makes you vulnerable to abuse and violence, because
Yes.
the mother might not always be available. So these are just some instances.
I don't think there's some, ma'am. I think this is too much even for me to digest. And, even after having the little that I study about disability or the little awareness that I could gather and know about, this is really too much to know. And I think I'm very glad that we are having this discussion today. I think even if nobody in the audience is impacted, I personally am. And I think even by impacting one person, we are making a difference today. So
I
thank you so much for
definitely
sharing.
agree. Even if one person is
Yes,
impacted, a difference has been made. Definitely.
yes. I'd like to know from the audience, people who are listening to us, whatever ma'am has spoken about, has it somewhere hit us, or is there anything that you would like to comment upon? Anything that you agree, disagree to, anything? Feel free to add it in the comment section so that we know by organizing such sessions, are we really making a change? We teach them simple trick of self-defense and teach them what is our personal space. Ma'am, there's a suggestion that comes in.
Sorry, what is the suggestion? We should teach them simple trick of self-defense and teach them what is our personal space. Anshumala, I completely agree. It is very important to teach them self-defense so that they can defend themselves, they can protect themselves. And it's not just the girls, it's the boys as well. Not just the children, the adults as well. Because many a times the adults might not be as mature as their age. So they do require it. All of us, in fact. Self-defense is very, very important.
I'm so happy to see some comments coming in, people saying that there is an impact and they're finding the session useful and it's somewhere affecting them. And thank you so
Right.
much, ma'am, once again. I cannot thank you enough for sharing all the beautiful information and the way you're presenting everything. It's making it much more easier to understand the severity of the problem. I'd also, so can I continue with my questions, or is there anything
Yes,
else
yes,
that you'd
sure.
like to?
Please do.
All right, all right. So I'd like to know what is the, okay, so deep down I know the answer, but I'd still like you to address to what is the state of mental health awareness when it comes to people with disability in India? Where have we reached? Where do we have to reach? How far is the path? Everything, ma'am.
Like I mentioned in the beginning of the session, mental health is a stigma. You and many other students of psychology have, during the times of COVID, started spreading awareness about mental health. So that's a very good initiative. But it's still a stigma, a taboo. People still have a stereotype that it is, maybe there's something wrong with you, you are mad, and all of that. So it's not given much importance. And if you feel that there is, let's say, 40% awareness when it comes to mental health of regular people with no challenges, then there's not even half of it. I would say less than 5%.
True.
I am a special educator. When I introduce myself as a special educator, people are blank. They've never
Yeah.
heard of the term special educator. They don't know what it means. So, there are these movies in Bollywood like Tare Zameen Par, Barfi, My Name is Khan. These are actually very helpful in explaining what work I do. Every time I say that I'm a special
Right.
educator, I say that, have you watched the movie Tare Zameen Par? The boy Ishan Awasthi, the kind of challenges he had, that is the kind of
I
children that
tackled
I teach.
it. Right, right.
So I feel that, before we can actually deal with the mental health of people with disabilities, we need to understand what is the nature of disabilities, what is the impact it has on these people. Then only can we move on to the mental health aspect.
I think this is what leads to the sensitization part, Just by listening to you from the past 20, 30 minutes, I think it has sensitized me somewhere, even more than I already was. So I think we can start with this awareness where we're just sensitizing people and then going ahead, obviously, like you said, it's important to know the severity of the disability and the kind of
Yes.
challenges that.
Definitely, sensitization is a very, very important aspect of making our society more inclusive, because the more you are aware, the more you will be able to make others around you aware, impact them, and then only people will become more open minded, more welcoming, accepting towards diversity, different kinds of abilities, different kinds of people, different kinds of strengths. Then only will the society become more inclusive. Like at the school
Yes.
level, we have counselors who regularly conduct sessions for sensitization, and it's actually a top down process. What happens is you
Yeah.
need to start at the top with the, if I give you the example of a school, you need to start with the administration, then you come down to the teaching staff, and then you come down to the students. Because what happens is, in a classroom, if the teacher is not sensitized, then it is visible in her body language, in her attitude, and that is something that is picked up by the students unconsciously, and then that is how they behave towards this child with disabilities or challenges. So it's very,
Yes.
very important to sensitize people. And I feel that, the concept of inclusive schools is actually helpful, because what happens is you have children with challenges attending the same class with the peers who don't have any challenges, who are neurotypical.
Right.
So what happens
Right.
is they get the opportunity to interact with a child with challenges, they become more aware, they become sensitized, they have
Yes.
that opportunity to be able to become sensitized, in fact.
And such an inclusive classroom has benefits, I think, for both kind of children. Children,
Definitely.
yeah,
So what happens
great.
is the child with challenges gets a buddy, gets a friend,
Yeah,
gets an accepting environment, whereas the neurotypical child, he gets the opportunity to interact with a person with diverse abilities, he gets the opportunity to become more accepting, more open minded, more sensitized as a person. So
right.
overall, positive development of that child.
Yes, yes. So, ma'am, my next question to you, and I think somebody in the audience also asked, I think that would you would be able to cover that up too. So, my question to you is, what are some techniques that you generally use in your day-to-day life or in your field in order to make the challenges easier for people with disability or children with disability? And the tag question along with that, which has been asked by the audience, is, doesn't it make you sad when you teach them? You can
I'll
comment.
take up the second part of the question
Yeah.
first. There are times when I feel disappointed, but I wouldn't say sad. And what causes the disappointment is that, you've been working with a child on a particular skill for a really long time. They are improving, and then there are times that they achieve it, but sometimes the very next day they regress. It seems like they've forgotten all of it, and sometimes, it's like they haven't even heard that word before, because they might have memory challenges. So
Yes.
that is a little disappointing, that we put in the effort, the child has put in so much of time and effort, the child has achieved it, but the regression is really heartbreaking. But
Right.
working with children with disabilities is more heartwarming than it could be ever disappointing, because the
Yeah.
kind of interactions you can have with them, the kind of love that you get, the kind of improvement that they show, that is all different from neurotypical children. I've worked with children with challenges all these years, and there have been times that we support them in their class where you have peers who are neurotypical. I like interacting with those children, but if I think about what is it that I want to do, whom do I want to teach? It's only the child with special needs. It's like, I feel like my purpose is to be a special educator. I can't imagine being somebody else, doing something else.
That's really nice.
Right.
I have a personal observation also that I'd like to share with everybody here, that I have had some interactions with special educators earlier, and you being one of them. There's this one pattern that I've seen, that the way you address these children, it's so much different. I've always seen verbatims like "my children" coming up. So it's
We
always,
end up saying that.
you always end up saying that my children are this, my children do this, they are able to do this. So that's something really nice, to observe. And so we also have a very important question, I would rather say, over here, which is that we understand what they feel, and you have also beautifully explained everything. But what it is that we can actually do now, let's come to the solution part. So
Right.
in the solution part, ma'am, I'd like you to cover certain points. I'd like you to address what children or people with disabilities can do, like what are some self-help techniques that they can
Right.
use, we as a community or as budding psychologists, or in the profession of mental health can do, and what the community at large can do. So just let us know some tips and techniques that all of us can follow and make it easier for them.
Definitely. So I'll start by talking about what people with disabilities can do. So I feel they should connect with other people, because we humans are social animals. We all need socialization. We need somebody to talk to, somebody to interact with, somebody to spend time with, be it quality time or quantity time, doing some activity, not doing some activity. It's very, very important to connect with people. Then
Right.
it's very important to keep oneself busy, because like they say that an empty mind is a devil's workshop. The more free you are, you might have negative thoughts, you might overthink. So keep yourself busy in anything that you might enjoy. It would be
Yes.
meaningful for that particular person, whatever activity that they're engaging in. So what happens is, when you keep yourself busy, let's say you've picked up a new hobby, it might be painting. So it improves a lot of your skills. Like you improve your concentration, you improve your fine motor skills, you
Yes.
enjoy it, you are able to pass a lot of time. It might be 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. You are meaningfully engaged. So there are a lot of benefits, and of course all of this is very healthy for the brain as well. It makes the brain more alert, more active,
More creative.
more creative. Yes. Then exercise if possible. There are a lot of activities you can do for mental exercises as well as physical exercises. Then practice mindfulness. You can acknowledge and accept things as they are, because the moment you accept that these are some of your limitations, that's when
Yes.
you are able to do something about it and live with it. Accept that I have this challenge, I am putting in this effort, this is what I can do about it, this is how much I will be able to achieve. Set realistic targets. And it's very important that they have support to identify their strengths or their talent, because they might have certain challenges. That doesn't mean that they don't have strengths. They have a lot of
Right.
strengths. Some of them might be brilliant. There are so many famous personalities with disabilities.
Yes.
They've achieved the stars. So a lot
I'm
of
able to
people.
think of Miss Deepa Malik, and I'm able to think of Mr. Nick. So these are some names and some celebrities that are coming into my mind as you're explaining the whole thing.
If I talk about Bollywood, you have Abhishek Bachchan.
Hmm.
He has dyslexia. If you talk
Yes.
about Hollywood, there is Jennifer Aniston, Keira Knightley, Tom Cruise. Then you have very world famous physicists, scientists.
Yes.
So it's very important to identify your strength and then build upon it so that it becomes even better. You are more skilled at it. Then spread your experiences so that is a beginning to spreading awareness.
Yes.
Because the more they share how they feel, what are the challenges they face, the more people who don't have disabilities would be would have the opportunity to understand, to be sensitive, to be accepting.
Yes.
So these are some of the things that people with disabilities can do.
Yeah.
You were about to say
What
something?
about us, ma'am? What about
Yes.
us? What can we do?
Okay, so we had earlier discussed that it's very important to spread awareness. So like you've been hosting a lot of sessions about mental health on your Instagram page. We're talking about mental health of people with disabilities over here. So through different mediums,
Right.
spread awareness, because more the people are aware, the better the situation would be, the better the chances that society would be more inclusive, more accepting. So spreading
Yes.
awareness is very important. Once people are aware, they would be more sensitized, they would be more sensitive. So we need to all be advocates for these people. Like we say, give voice to the voiceless. Advocate for people, advocate against the discrimination, advocate against the abuse, against the violence. Advocate that this person has some rights, just like you and I have rights. They also have equal rights. The human rights
True.
for you, me, and a person with disabilities are all same.
True.
So it's very important to advocate for them. All of this would help us build a culture of inclusion. Then it's very important, like I said, that we need to talk to the person with disability, not about the person with disability. The person might have
Yeah.
disability, but they can still hear you. They can see your
Yes.
body language. They can understand you, and they know that you're talking about them. If standing in front of you, I talk negative points about you, you will not like it. Imagine how a person with disabilities would feel. Because it's not just one person who's doing that. There are innumerable people.
Ma'am, we have a question here that
Okay.
says that what if the child is an introvert? How will you communicate with them?
So introverts don't have communication difficulties. They are shy. They
Right.
might not feel like, interacting socially too much. But, they take time to open up. Once they are comfortable with you, they would
Yes.
interact. So I feel it's very important. The first step is to try to bond with the child.
Make them
The
feel
moment you,
comfortable.
yes, make them comfortable, form a rapport, form a healthy bond, and that's when the child would become open to talking to you, or even to do activities with you, to learn from you, to engage in a therapy session or an academic session. So bonding with the child is crucial.
Yes.
Then be open minded, don't be judgmental, look beyond the disability, don't go with the labels, don't, like we had discussed at the beginning, it's not an autistic person, it's a person with autism. That's just one
Right.
aspect of that person, it's not
Yes.
the complete picture.
Yes.
Accept differences, be respectful, and a very important thing is offer help only and only when they actually need it. Don't offer it because it would make you feel better about yourself. Yes,
Exactly.
a person has challenges, but that doesn't mean that they definitely require help in this particular situation. Like, for
True.
example, as a special educator, we prepare our timetable that during this and this subject class, we will go and support the child. But if we see that the child is able to independently complete the task, perform it, then we take a back seat. We go because we want the child to be as independent as possible. We don't want to make them dependent on us, even for
Right.
skills that are achievable.
Right.
Same with any person with disabilities. Just because it makes you feel better, don't do it.
Yes.
It's not,
Understand
help
that
is not
whether
offered
they
to
need
make you
your
feel
help or not.
better.
Right.
Then give a lot of support even to the family members of the people with disabilities, because there's a lot of judgment that these parents are bad, these parents are not good enough, the mother is cold, that's why the child has a problem, they must have done some sins, that's why they have a child with disabilities. All of these, please don't engage in any of these kinds of thoughts,
Yes.
because a person with disabilities has several challenges. They are going through a lot
Already.
of issues, mental health issues that we discussed previously. So is their family, because along with the person with disabilities, the family members are also going through it. They are the primary caretakers. They have to be completely there for the person. They miss out on their social connections because there are so many opinions. Sometimes they lose out on having friends. They are not able to be a part of social gatherings. Many a times, like I have a lot of students whose parents haven't even disclosed their child's challenge even to their extended family,
Right.
because
There's
they
that
wouldn't
stigma.
understand. There is a taboo.
Right.
So it's very important to create support groups so that even the family members get the required support.
Yes.
Peer support is very important. There are two kinds of peer support. One is wherein you have the buddy system, that a child is struggling, so this child needs support, and it doesn't always have to be an adult. It can be a peer, a child in the
Yes.
child, another child in the child's class. Or, like I mentioned, that I used to spend time with children with autism. They require to have support from other children who might have challenges, other adults who have similar
Hmm.
challenges, because
Right.
that gives you hope, that
Like
gives
we
you
have support
connection,
group.
more understanding. You feel like you're not the only one.
Yes. Yes. The concept like support groups that we have even for
Yes,
mental health
yes,
challenge.
right. And then we need to change our attitude. We need to focus more on the strengths of the person rather than their disability. The moment you
Yes.
start focusing on their strengths, your perception changes. Then the government also has a lot of initiatives wherein they have started a lot of hotlines wherein you can call for support. Then
Hmm.
they've made it compulsory that every school must have a special educator. They've There is support in schools and sometimes even at college level. There are a lot of disability related acts which ensure that the child
Yes.
gets education, the child gets support, maybe even financial support. So a lot of
Right.
government schemes are also there to support people with disabilities as well as their families.
Yes. I think. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Carry on.
I was about to say that we say that don't judge a person because they are going through a lot of they might be fighting a hard battle. That is true for people with disabilities. They are fighting in a harder battle.
Yes.
So please don't judge them or their family members. It's very easy to judge.
Yes.
Be kind instead. Let go of your boxes of normal and abnormal, right
True.
and wrong. Just throw away those boxes. Because the
I just
moment
like
we
to
judge
say.
and do all of this, when we make them feel unworthy, not needed, all of that, then we are actually laying the foundation for mental health issues in future.
Yes.
And we are the ones who can actually prevent it. So be the
Yes.
person who can prevent it, not who lays the foundation for it.
True. True. I think, ma'am, after listening to all that you shared, I think, yes, somebody is also saying it was a lot of information and a very important information that you shared with us. I think it's important that, even the audience, if you agree with me, do send thumbs up. I personally am taking one responsibility today after listening to you and after getting sensitized to the little bit that I could, that even if I cannot make life easier for them, I would surely try to not make it more difficult than it already is. Let's
Right.
not add to the challenges that they already have. Let's get away with all of the stigma. And like you said,
Right.
they are more than their disability. They have a lot of strength within them.
Correct.
Only help them, shine, and we give them a platform where which is free of barriers. So yes, society should be empathetic and we
Yes.
form the society. So I think all of us can together take the step and today probably promise together that we will try our best to not make it more difficult for them. And if we have the resources and the ability to make it easier for them, like special educators, like you are already doing, ma'am, if we have the ability to, let's make it easier. Otherwise, let's not make it more difficult than it already is. So people who judge them or try to break their strength are abnormal, not the one who is suffering from some challenges. Yes, I think you're right. People who are not understanding all of this need more education
Right.
than people who are
Like
going
there's
through
this
all of
very
it.
famous quote that, when you misbehave or treat someone badly, inappropriately, it talks more about you rather than that
Yes,
person. So
yes,
remember that.
yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. Once again, I think, yes, it was a lot of information, a lot of needed information, even after listening to everything, a lot of it has stayed with me personally. And I'm sure with the audience also. Do drop in your comments for ma'am, the beautiful information that she shared and the time and effort that she took. I hope those who are listening will be sensitized and watch their behavior. Yes, I hope everybody, me, you, everybody. So thank you so much, ma'am, once again for your time.
Thank you, Kirti,
This
for
was
inviting me. I'm really happy that you wanted to include this topic about the marginalized
yes,
group that includes people with disabilities, and I really hope that my session was helpful and people were able to find some new information.
a lot, ma'am. So yes, we will be saving this live. Don't worry. And thank you so much once again, ma'am. It was
Thank you. Thank
amazing
you
to
for
have
having
you
me.
for all the information. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think with this, we come to an end of a very, very beautiful session on mental health of persons with disability. Since the World Mental Health Day is observed on the 10th of October, the PsychLife has taken an initiative called the Virtual Mental Health Camp, where we are organizing sessions and workshops, all free of cost. And with this, we come to the end of the fifth session. And tomorrow, we have a very amazing workshop planned for everybody who's registered on journaling, on how journaling can be used to take care of our mental health. Let everything sink in, whatever we learned today, whatever ma'am helped us understand. Yes, I will be saving this live. Do not worry. Beautifully explained. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for the lovely feedbacks. Keep the love and support coming in and take care. Bye bye.